My name is Curtis Perkins. I'd like to welcome you to the Medina Southtown Car Cruise In. We have a fine Tuesday night here, the sun's shining, and we have a lot of cars to look at. Come with me and talk to the car owners here. Tell us what you have there, Louis. What are we looking at?
You're looking at a 1970 Mustang Grande. They only made 14,000 of these that year. It's got a 351 Windsor in it, and it's got a mild cam and a hot ignition system. It's got stainless steel muffler system on it, and it's I've had it since 2001. It's painted torch red with black satin stripes. Just got had the interior done by Don Notek. He's dead. Remember Don?
Oh yes, on Smith
Road
Road there.
My front seats for me, because when I got the car, it had a vinyl top which was ripped off. You know what they look like when you rip them off.
Right.
And my seats were ripped. The car was regatta red and it was all cracked. It took me a long time to get this the way it looks.
Now, who did your paint job?
Jason Stako. He works. He was a body man for Kurt's Trucking.
Kurt's Trucking.
Yeah. And he had my car. He lived on top of Granger Road Hill in Cleveland. And he did my car in his garage. He had it 4 months, a little two-car garage.
Beautiful job.
And then I had it touched up at Curtis Perkins' body shop.
That was back in the day.
Back in the day.
And believe me, we had a heck of a time getting that color to match, but I think we did it.
Yeah, this is really a cruising car. It was built in San Jose, California. And it came with a 351. I sent in my badge for my windshield. And it was built in San Jose, and then it was bought out of the Carolinas.
That's the original motor?
The original motor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I see you have, is those Kreger wheels?
Kreger wheels.
Okay, that's the old style.
Right.
All right.
I got them from Summit. And I had Fettons on here before.
Yeah.
In fact, my spare tire, I have a Fetton spare tire in the back. That's an old mag wheel you don't see anymore. Yeah. That's in the trunk. Now, if I had a fastback, I'd have one of those little donuts.
Yeah,
But since I got a coupe, I got a hole.
You have room.
I have room. I got a regular.
Don, what are we looking at here?
1933 Pontiac.
All right. Now, and I assume that the emblem here says it's a Chief, huh?
Yeah, well, it says it's a Pontiac. The Indian on it represents a chief.
Okay. Now,
Chief Pontiac.
Right, and I see all of your seat covers have the Chief on it.
There's, I lost count, to tell you the truth. Somewhere between 55 and 60 Indians on this car.
Oh boy.
I always tell everybody, if you can find 40 of them, I'll give you a $100 bill. Now, everybody's going to be calling me up.
Now, Don, tell us, I know that's not the stock engine.
No, it's 327 Chevy.
Okay, did you do this yourself, restore it?
I took me 4 years.
How long have you owned the car?
I bought it in 12.
Okay.
And I've had it running for, this will be the 3rd year on the road.
Yeah, and you've repainted it?
Twice.
Was it frame off or
everything?
Rotisserie?
Every nut and bolt was off this car, back on, and I made the seats, everything on here. I made the running boards, the steering wheel, the trunk.
Air conditioning?
Yeah, the windows and the vents open.
Oh, okay. Now, you paint it yourself, or did you have it done?
Yeah, me and my buddy painted it.
You're a good painter.
Herb next to me helped me sand it down.
Yeah.
It was pearl white and black cherry, and the black cherry didn't show up. So this has got a silver tint to it, and then red cherry a little bit more. I still had to put a lot of money in it.
Yeah.
In fact, I just put $1,000 in all the fancy stuff, the chrome and that.
Modern
No, it's 1933 suspension.
Is it?
Yeah,
How's it go down the road?
like a 33 Pontiac.
And what's the speed you normally
I've
cruise
had
at?
this thing up to 90.
Have
No
you
problem.
really?
No, no problem.
You're not afraid of it
No, hell no.
with the suspension? Oh,
A little bouncy, but
yeah.
it gets me there and back.
Now, what's these running boards?
Cedar.
Real cedar, huh?
Yeah. This Indian, I carved it. It's 1/4-inch steel. Most of the guys know me as the carver. I do wood carving, chainsaw carving.
Do you? Now you made the steering wheel in there out of wood.
Yeah. 26 pieces of wood in that steering wheel.
Yeah. I tell you, Don, to do this in 4 years, the way what I'm seeing in this magazine, you spent a lot of time.
And I don't know nothing about cars.
Yeah. No, I didn't. It doesn't look
I've
like.
had help, but I didn't do it all myself.
Tell us what we have here.
We got a 1964 Corvette pickup, 95. They call it a step side. It's got the door that opens up on the side.
Now, did you buy this new?
No, I bought it about 4 years ago. Took the motor out. The motor was a V6 in the back. Took it out, put a 383 V8 motor in it, in the bed.
Now, where is the motor originally at in the?
It sits underneath this cover.
The motor was originally
Yeah.
way back there.
Yeah, and this is what they call a step side. This gate opens up.
Uh-huh.
You can drive a mower or something in there.
What kind of exhaust?
It's got cherry bomb mufflers on it,
Okay. So
regular headers.
it sounds throaty there.
Yeah, it sounds good.
And this is the 57 Metropolitan. I've had it for about 10 years now. And I drive it every day.
Now, what kind of engine does that have in it, Mel?
It's got the four-cylinder,
4-cylinder.
3-speed column. They're built in England.
Okay. Now, were they part of the Nash?
Nash,
Rambler?
yeah, part of Nash Rambler.
Okay.
They've been selling them.
And did Nash make those originally?
No, it's built by a factory in England.
Called Metropolitan.
Yeah. The Nash dealers were selling them.
Okay. That's
Nash and Hudson.
All right. But as far as running gear, you haven't done anything.
Yeah, they're running good. I got 5 of them.
5?
Yeah, I got 4 of them for sale.
4 of them for sale. You just want to keep one.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep one.
You're known as the Metropolitan guy in Medina County.
Yeah, I'm the one in Medina. We run in Medina Parade and all the parades and stuff. Chippewa Parade.
Bill, what do you have here?
This is a 64 Corvair Monza convertible standard shift. Rare car anymore.
So can your wife drive it? It's a stick shift.
Oh, sure.
Oh,
Sure.
okay.
She had one when she was a kid, and I had one when I was a kid.
Okay.
Mine was just white.
Now,
My brother wrecked it, so
Oh,
I had to get another one.
and how long have you had this?
I've had this for 3 years.
So you didn't restore it, you bought it.
No, I bought it. Well, the guy had had it before me. He used it for shows. So he took it in a trailer everywhere he went, and I bought it as a driver. Okay, so I've had to redo everything to make it a driver. Yeah.
Now, Bill, something I have to ask you. This looks like a backwards car.
Uh-huh.
This is the trunk,
Yes.
and the engine's in the back.
Yes. We still call this the trunk because nothing's in it.
Okay. I'm used to the engine being in the front
Okay.
and the trunk in the back.
Yeah.
So you have a backwards car here.
Oh, I never thought about that.
What size engine is that?
That's a 110, horsepower 140. It says 164, but that's a liar.
Okay.
Now, let me tell you something else that you didn't know. The name Corvair came from half of one of those Corvettes and a Chevy Bel Air.
Okay.
Thus, the Corvair. See, you
Learned something
today.
new. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now, is this a 6 volt or 12 volt?
12.
12 volt.
Yeah, I changed it from a generator to an alternator because of to me, the safety factor. And I put electric fuel pump on it rather than the mechanical, even though this is the mechanical, and I just ran lines through it.
Are you using both of them?
No, the
Just-
mechanical is kaput, because what it would do is it would always leak through the seal in there and put gas into the oil. Not a good idea.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question, Bill, because
It better not include Ralph Nader.
I'm wondering, no, this car, well, that's why it's no longer produced, because of Ralph Nader and the Nader Raiders.
Well, you know that Ralph Nader was proven wrong with his Corvair in 1972.
And why do you say that?
He was. I mean, the government made him prove everything that he could, and he couldn't prove a thing.
Yeah. But he sure gave him grief.
He sure did.
But is there an oil drain plug underneath, or is this one like a boat where you have to suck the oil out to change it in the engine?
There's a drain plug underneath. The flat 6 here has a flat oil pan. It's perfectly flat. And so it's very important that the gasket be good. And then you can suck the oil out if you want, or you can drain it out, either one.
It's one thing I remember about a Corvair. They were oil leakers.
They were.
And that's why you say you have to have a good
And now
good
they've
gasket.
come out with a lot of new gaskets for every place in this thing to stop them from being an oil leaker.
Bill, you have a nice car here.
I love it. And I love it because I've had 4 or 5 of them in my lifetime. And this one just recently, and my wife lets me do it. Isn't that nice?
And you do not drive this during the winter months?
I'm not even here in Ohio in the winter months. This sits in the garage.
In the garage.
Yeah. One of your employees salutes it as he goes by.
That's because his dad had one years ago. Now, Bill, they tell me if you leave the top down on them, it'll shrink, and when you go to put them up, they won't go up. I assume the winter months you leave that top up.
Oh, the top's up, yeah.
Okay.
I put it down and I put it back up just to make sure that it doesn't shrink.
Yeah.
And these are honest to God spoke wheels.
Really?
They're knockoffs.
Okay.
Yep. So, and they're probably worth as much as the car is. Have you ever seen something like this?
Chevy Corvair Reserved. You know, I'm a Ford man, and I don't like that side. But I'll get over it. Now tell me about your car here. What is that?
This is a 2006 Ford GT. It's built for the 100th anniversary of Ford. They built 4,038 of them for the world. It was built up in Wixom, Michigan. It started out life in Norwalk, Ohio, where Mayfair Vehicle Engineering did the body work. It's kind of unique because the front fenders, they couldn't figure out a way to stamp them, so they vacuum formed them. They took a near molten sheet of aluminum, and then they vacuum formed it into a mold. It's rear engine, rear wheel drive. It's 550 horsepower, 205 miles an hour top end. It's very fast, and people just love it.
Yeah.
They see it, and it just turns a lot of heads.
Now, what's the fastest you have gone in it?
Fast.
Have you taken it down the racetrack bit?
No, I don't take it to the track.
Yeah.
No, it's just something my wife and I, we go out to the Cuyahoga Valley, just enjoy driving it.
Did you buy this new?
No, I got it used. It had 2,500 miles when I got
Oh
it.
boy.
And I got it in 2010,
Uh-huh.
the very bottom of the market. This is loosely based on the original Ford GT40s from 1965, 66.
Uh-huh.
The predecessor to these cars won the first Ford victory at Le Mans. And Ford took a lot of the styling cues from that car. The seats, the switches for the lights, and all the interior is reminiscent of the original car. You just push the button, and the
Okay.
whole door opens up,
All right.
and you can just kind of fall into it. But it's very comfortable. It's very secure driving. Again, it just holds the road like you wouldn't believe. And there's not an entrance ramp that's, not a lot of fun. You go to get on the freeway, and you can actually pass cars on the freeway on the entrance ramp.
Now tell me, the young kids, do they try to egg you to race them, or?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't appreciate what the car is.
Right.
It's a very valuable car, and you don't see a whole lot of them.
That's true.
But yeah, they do very well. I've never raced anybody with it. I have no desire to break this car. It just would be a crime.
That's true. Now tell me about this engine here. This is the engine in the rear.
Yeah, it's a 5.4 liter.
It goes up into the back seat.
Well, it stops right about here. There's a glass window between the
Yes,
driver's compartment and the engine.
Okay.
Again, it has forged connecting rods, Gorilla rods. It's all aluminum. It's got a Eaton supercharger on it, I believe.
Now would this be the hood?
It's actually a clamshell. The whole thing opens up like a clamshell.
Oh, okay.
And you have a little storage area in the front that is kind of useless.
Yeah.
You know, there's not, but again, there's no cup holders. There's no cruise control on this. It's just meant to go fast around corners and in a straight line.
I saw a cooling fan up in front of this. How does it cool the motor back here?
There's a radiator or coolant tubes that run from the front of the car all the way to the back of the car. It has twin fans on the front, and you can actually see the heat curling up from the front of the car. You know.
And you don't feel any of that inside?
No, no. You have air conditioning, and then again you have the ventilation and stuff like that. Most of the heat is left behind you. You do get some heat through the windows, you know, from the radiators and stuff. But overall, it's a very comfortable car.
Something else, and when we were talking about the Ranger, but I don't think you did this one. You didn't Z-Bart this one?
No. This one never goes out into the rain. I wash it very sparingly. Even just to scratch the paint, it's just it would be a crime.
Right.
I'm very particular about it. It sits up in the garage, up on a lift, and sits with a cover over the top of it. Comes out for car shows and for the wife and I to drive in the park. That's about it. So this is our retirement enjoyment.
Well, you can tell you're a true car guy because car guys don't like to get their cars wet.
Right.
What's the furthest you've driven it?
Oh, we've had this down to Amish country. We've had it up to Sandusky. Pretty much go out east with it and stuff like that. I try and stay off the freeways. I do take it on the freeway once in a while.
Yeah.
But we spend a lot of time just taking the back roads, just enjoying the scenery. Yeah, Medina's a beautiful little town.
Yes, it
I used
is.
to come out here. In fact, when I got my first driver's license, I was 16. We came out here from North Royalton to get my driver's license, and we fell in love with it out here. So we built out here back in 1980.
Now, Jim, I'm looking at your car and I wonder, what do you have here?
Well, it's a 32 Ford Roadster pickup. In 32, they only made 593 of them. And this body is a brand new body. There's a company in Brookville, Ohio that builds these bodies. They're steel. They are not plastic. We did it in the style of the early 60s, fenderless. That style car they raced at Bonneville and Muroc and Edwards Air Force Base and that kind of stuff on the dry lakes.
All right.
This particular car, I drove out to California 4 years ago. My wife's cousin and I drove out, and it took us 5 days to get out there. We wanted to go to the LA Roadster show, and so he was game for it, and I was too. And we finally got smart after the second day why we'd take the leave first thing in the morning, because they tend to beat you up a little bit. It's got transverse springs in the front and back, just like the original. And they ride a little stiff. We stretch the wheelbase 2 inches, get a little better ride out of it. Only trouble is, we don't have any side curtains, so if you get in a rainstorm, you better be ready to get wet. We had no rain out there and all the way back until I got to the Indiana line on 70, and I could see a storm coming across, and she wasn't with me. Her cousin and I were driving. He had a 32 high boy with a flathead. But we got separated, and I saw the storm coming, and at that point, it started raining right through the car. It came in one side, went right out the other, and I knew I had heavy traffic behind me, so I sort of eased over and went over the rumble strip on one side and the rumble strip on the other, and parked over as far as I could, and was completely soaked. I mean, I was like a drowned rat. And had to get a hotel out there near Dayton, near this company that made these bodies. And I said, I was so wet I had to take out my money clip and iron my money on the on the ironing board. But it was a good trip.
Yeah.
We enjoyed it, had a good time.
But getting your cars wet doesn't bother you. You'll drive them through rain.
We'll drive them through rain. We won't go out of our way to find rain, but if we get caught out somebody, you don't have any choice. You put Rain-X on the windshield, but you put it on both sides because it just comes right around.
And you don't have windshield wipers on there.
We don't. Those are highly overrated.
Oh, okay.
I can put a windshield wiper on there, but I have to take the top off because it clips on the top of the frame.
Yeah.
So the only time we put that on, the one group, National Street Route Association, does a 23-point check and a safety check. And we've done that on each car every year. They're good for 1 year. And the one time I had the one car over and they inspected that, and I said, I'll be right back in just a little bit here. I have to go get the other car. And I came back and I had the windshield wiper on the other car that I brought back. And the guy says, takes you just about 15 minutes to swap that over, doesn't it? But we really haven't had any problems.
Now, you mentioned your wife, Jim. Tell me, she's got a car just like this?
Just like it, yeah. It's a Roadster, just like this. We were going to reverse the colors on this one, okay? The other one, the color on that is off of a early 90s Ford pickup truck, okay? I didn't want anything that was a custom mix that if you had a problem, you have a heck of a time matching it.
Right.
So that's what we did. We got the other, got this thing just about done. We were ready to paint it. And the fellow that did the work for us called me up and he says, what are we going to do on color? And I said, you know what? Let's just paint it the same as the other one, which we did, and it really turned out to be the best thing that ever had happened. When I was out in California with this car, we were at the LA Roadster show. A fellow walked up, he looked at it, and he said, well, where's the twin? I said, what are you talking about? He said, the twin, the other one that looks just like it. He says, I saw it up in Kalamazoo. So he had seen it up in Kalamazoo, but he lived out in California, and he wanted to see that one too.
Now, California, Kalamazoo, you travel with your cars.
These are driven cars. They are not trailered.
And both you and your wife will follow one another?
Yeah. I never expected her to want to drive. We first got the Roadster, and we took the top off, and about a couple weeks later, she says, you know, let's go up to the rec center. So she just drove around the rec center. And the next day or the following Sunday, while she wanted to go to the show up in Valley City, and she said, I'll take the car up there and see how it does. She got there early, and they said, you're too early. Why don't you come back in about 45 minutes? She did, and she gave me a call when she got back. She said, you know what? She said, I can do this. So from there on out, well, she's been driving ever since. So it's worked out really well.
Right. I know there's been times I'll see it come through town, and when I first became acquainted with you, she was following you.
Yeah, and we did not build the cars to show or go after any prizes or awards or that. It just happened. We just wanted drivers. This car has 24,000 miles on it. The Roadster has about 46,000 miles on it. They've been on trailers, I think, 3 times.
How long have you had them?
This one, the Roadster we built in 04.
You did? You rebuilt the whole thing? Or built it?
Well, the thing was, my wife, I was going to build the car, okay?
Yeah.
And she says, you know what? If you're going to do the whole thing, you'll be 105 by the time you get it done. So we tracked down a fella, and it was down in Mount Vernon, and he built the cars for us. I spec'd out what we wanted to do, and he did all the work. Unfortunately, he's now retired and moved to Florida, so I can't put him up to it again, but...
Okay, I have with me today, or now it's Jan. He's got a...
Jan Reinhardt.
Jan Reinhardt, in relation to the Reinhardts here in Medina?
When they were rich, we said yes, and now I don't really know.
Okay, Jan. Tell me, what are we looking at here?
This is a 1978 El Camino. It's the first El Camino they came out with that was the smaller sized pickup. the other El Caminos earlier, there's one here someplace, I thought, that they're a larger, like the size of a pickup. But they came out with these more streamlined, lower, smaller, to try and hit a better market. Now, this one is one of only 600 that was ever made. They got into a lawsuit and they had to change the name from Black Knight, which could only be black, to any color because they called them Royal Knights. And they made Royal Knights for probably the next 15 years. And any color could be royal.
But the distinction for Black Knight, the only distinction was it was black. Did it have any different power structure?
It had to have the 350, and it had to have a manual 4-speed. Now that was the only way that they would make it. So I have the with it original bill of sale. It was sold in Allentown, Pennsylvania for $39.95.
Oh boy.
In 1978. In 1978, the man that bought it before winter moved to North Carolina. From North Carolina, this car went over to Florida. Now, there's one thing you have to think about, and you gotta, unless your audience is old enough, they won't understand this. But in Allentown, Pennsylvania was just about like Medina, Ohio. In the fact that whoever ordered did not order air conditioning.
Oh boy.
Because it probably cost about $300. Well, just like here, if you had your choice, would you spend an extra $300 for air conditioning in a pickup?
No. Back then, no.
Back then, it was a positive no.
Right.
I mean, you didn't need it, so. But when it was in Florida, you couldn't drive it except from 5 o'clock on.
So you're saying no air conditioning?
No air conditioning.
I assume there's probably no power windows.
Oh no, back in those days it was still
Oh, the crank.
People ask me, does this bring back memories? And I have to say no, because this is strictly a 2-seater. I had 3 children, so a 2-seater automobile
wouldn't work.
Was as far out of my picture as anything. It just couldn't happen. And back in those days, you put the kids in the back seat and away you went.
You pretty much stayed in the state of Ohio?
Oh yes. When you're from Medina, there isn't any place else but right here.
Oh boy. I want to thank you for watching the Medina Southtown Cruise In. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did walking around talking to the different car owners and seeing their enthusiasm and hearing the work that they put into these vehicles. There's some beautiful cars here tonight, and we had the perfect weather for it. So please come on down to the Hawkins Market here, parking lot, the corner of Elmwood and Lafayette Road. We're here every Tuesday night through the summer. Thank you.